Sitting comfortably, children? Then we'll begin with Destroy All Clickbait, our bi-weekly look at the craziness and the strangeness of the interwebs. With me, as always, are Avi and Ing, and I am Adam. Hello, folks.
I'm very tired.
That's
okay. Yes. All right, we'll do up. We'll bang this one through. First of all, down some energy drinks. Follow it with black coffee. Crank up your energy level.
Oh, God.
It is gross. The grossness will wake you up. That's why you want it to be gross.
Wake me up inside.
Can't wake up.
Can't wake up?
No.
We're not doing that? Okay,
Wake me up inside.
No.
Okay.
I don't remember the rest of the lyrics to that.
Adam, so you can't be saved from yourself, Adam. That's just very sad.
Fair enough.
All right, so where do we want to start off with?
Well, with dogs, and more dogs, I think.
And so many dogs.
Okay, so in the under the category of so this is just a thing now.
Yep.
As you were saying on Twitter.
All more or less on the same thing, but I haven't gotten a good term for what this subgenre of clickbait is.
Uh-huh.
But
the rage bait?
Well, yeah, it is a type of rage bait, but it's specifically one there of basically your fucking pet sucks.
Yeah.
It's a very recent new phenomenon.
Yeah, your fucking pet sucks and you should feel bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Your pet isn't special.
Like we did one before that dogs are parasites.
Right. That was the thing that got this started a few weeks. Like somewhere
at least a
around
month ago,
episode 7 or 8.
Yeah, and now
no more than that, like 2 months now.
Now both
yes.
Time and the New York Times are on this. The one that got the most traction on social media is "Your dog is dumber than you think," which, if I might paraphrase the correction there, have these people not only never met dogs, but never met anybody who has met a dog?
Well, I mean, like, in the other one for the New York Times, which is titled "Your dog may be smart, but she's not exceptional," the person doing the study is apparently a cat person, not a dog person.
Yeah, but no. I need to get on this, because it's like, you know what we call a smart dog? A wolf.
A wolf.
Yeah.
It's like, no one fucking made dogs or expects dogs to be smart. No one, like, 100 years ago was breeding pugs, saying, yes, these fuckers are gonna do math.
They're gonna be intelligent.
No one's looking at a schnauzer going, one day he will read Proust.
They will rule us. These animals, they will surpass us.
I'm going to teach my Chihuahua will be doing my taxes.
They do everything else. We use them to do they'll do all the jobs of humanity someday.
Although,
they'll operate elevators and drive taxis.
Jeff Bezos desperately trying to train huskies to pack Amazon boxes.
No, not pack, but deliver Amazon boxes.
Oh.
They're all called Balto.
Don't give them any ideas.
In little barrels, like fictional St. Bernards.
Yup, exactly.
Aww.
That's exactly what Jeff Bezos wants to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, the gist of the article there is, honestly, there's a bunch of just what we said with the dogs are parasites when I went on a big speech about dog cognition and all that. Like, there is no new research here. Like,
no.
There's nothing new there. There's nothing that I didn't learn in undergrad there.
Right.
It's like yes, dogs are high in social intelligence, especially with humans, and dumb or average for a lot of mammals in general. Yeah, that's a thing we know. Everybody knows that their dog has, like, that many dogs have a few areas of which they are exceptionally clever, and in every other they literally are too dumb to live on their own because they have no sense of self-preservation or survival instincts. These are animals that will dig through the garbage to eat something like chocolate, get sick from that, and then go back the next day, immediately after they recover from their brush with death, to try to eat the same thing. Everyone knows dogs are dumb.
Yeah. Well, it starts, the New York Times article literally starts with, in the long simmering dispute over whether dogs are smarter than cats. I'm like, really? Is that a long simmering dispute? That seems like it could be resolved in about 5 minutes to me.
For the crazy people who specifically choose one camp, yes. And honestly, that's kind of how I feel about a lot of people who are just too much into dogs and too much into cats. Like, it's fine that you really like them, but it's like, they're animals. You should just love animals in general, because that's how I feel. I just love animals.
But I feel like even if you're a dog person, you're not going like, oh yeah, dogs are so smart. Like, I'm sure there are people who are like, yeah, my dog is so smart. And they probably, see, even the people who are like, my dog is so smart, are saying that because they know dogs in general are kind of dumb. So they're building up their dog as being smarter than the average dog.
Okay, so a few things. One, it's a matter of what are you setting the bar for, because, like, when you're comparing dogs to sheep, of course dogs are smarter. If you're comparing them to, like, guinea pigs, of course dogs are smarter. Like, if you're comparing them to box turtles. But in general, like I said, a lot of dogs seem to have a very few special areas at which they excel intellectually. Most of them in the social skill things, and other ones in some very specific things, and then are just dumb as a fucking post at everything else.
Right. Especially like, if you get into specific dog breeds, and which ones have been specifically bred for specific tasks.
Like part of the dumbness of dogs is that some of them are incredibly clever at doing things that are incredibly stupid. Like the lengths dogs will go to get the chocolate out of the garbage, despite the fact that this is an incredibly bad idea from them, and one that they have the experience that they should know about, but they'll still go to elaborate fucking lengths, pushing chairs up to get access to the table so they can knock the trash can down from atop of it, mapping out fucking routes, planning whole Ocean's 11's like heist, all for the goal of doing something profoundly fucking stupid.
Did Gobi and Jesse do this recently?
Yeah,
yes.
This is that was sounding like an actual incident you were describing.
Yeah, this was getting dangerously close to me just leaning more and more away from the microphone and just yelling at my dogs.
Dog's like, what are you talking about? That never happened. I don't have a memory that goes back longer than a day, so...
I totally didn't push my way into the kitchen and rip apart the garbage bags. I would never do that.
Okay, so here's the thing. Miniature schnauzers actually have, like, great goddamn spatial orientation. They're naturally good climbers. They can map out all climbing paths at that. They use this incredible gift largely to find ways to jump up onto the kitchen table and eat entire loaves of bread and then get sick. And then just look up at you pathetically, whining about their pain and then going, bread tricked me! And then the next day they will go back and dedicate the same level of energy and thought into doing the same stupid thing.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying to themselves, you know what? That yesterday's bread made me sick. But scientifically, I have not tried today's bread. So therefore, for purely experimental purposes, I have to eat this loaf of bread.
What are the odds that'll happen again?
Yeah.
I mean, 1 in a billion, right?
Well, I mean, even in other ways, dogs can be very, very intuitive about that. So, for example, in one of my classes, one of my classmates has a dog that she's training to become a seeing eye dog. So she has a little vest that she puts on him, and she tells people don't pet him if he has the vest on. And so one day she always takes the vest off for a little while so that way he can kind of relax a little bit and get attention. But one day she was going to put the vest back on, and he was just being fussy as hell because he knows as soon as he puts that vest back on, people can't give him pets, and he wants pets.
Right.
So it's just like, dogs can be very, very intuitive. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're intelligent in the way you think of intelligence.
I wonder if with the dog who's a helper dog who's got the vest on, is that like when we get home from work and we like take our pants off or whatever, like, I'm done work for the day, I can relax
kind of,
and have pets now.
kind
Like-
of, because there's another dog, this was several years ago, at a convention, and they were also training that dog to be a service dog. So when it had the vest on, it knew not to go leave its master, because I specifically remember walking past it while they were at a table, and it just stood at attention to its master, even though it very clearly wanted to run off and play with a toy that was on the other side of the hallway. So it's like, you'd be surprised. It was also a corgi, and corgis are fairly intelligent, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's just kind of like, dogs are smart, but it also depends on how you're measuring intelligence, because there's a lot of ways to measure intelligence.
Yeah, we should probably get into that intelligence itself isn't any one thing, and
Right.
it's probably important to realize that, because failure to realize that has actually created a lot of real-world difficulties.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the fact that dogs are very trainable is probably the thing we think of as their
Intelligence.
Intelligent, yeah.
Or in some senses of them being smart enough to figure out what the training things are going by, and then either simply refusing because they recognize what the negative reinforcement is, and learn that they can just ignore it, or trying to gain the positive reinforcement, and god damn it, Kobe, why can't you learn? Why can't you just go through the simple obedience training? Why does every goddamn thing have to be a struggle of wits? You freaking Shih Tzu!
And we're making it with this podcast is making you mad at your dog, and your dog's like, what did I do lately?
He knows what he does.
Does he though?
Oh shit!
You'll give him a really dumb look.
Are they okay? Okay. I'm sorry. Oh,
See?
even jokingly,
Well,
I did scare them. They were afraid that
They don't
They've
understand
never heard
sarcastic
Dad yell
anger.
this much, that's all.
Yeah.
they knew in a sense of what they did there, but not any specifics.
He knew it was.
Dad's
they
never
could-
yelled
they-
this much before. What do?
See, I bet they don't get upset when they think it's just you yelling about something in general that you're angry about. But they could tell this was related to them. Yeah.
See, and in that sense, they're smart. And cats are also smart. Their cats also are a lot more trainable than people think.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
the methodology of training them is a little different. Because most people think that if you train them the same way you would train a dog, it should work for any animal. But that's not often the case.
Right.
So, because I think last week somebody posted a video of somebody playing fetch with a cow, and people were shocked that this was possible. And it's just like, no, you could probably play fetch with anything, because I've seen people train their like pet birds to play fetch.
Yeah.
So it's like you could definitely train any kind of animal to play fetch.
You don't even need to train them to
Yeah.
play it, since
Right.
it's such a simple thing. A lot of them come up with it on their own.
Exactly.
Like I have had multiple cats who have loved to fetch.
Yeah. My brother's old cat, when he lived at his other apartment in New York, had a cat who just liked bringing you things. If you
Right. Oh, that's what
threw
they
a piece
do.
of if you crumpled a piece of paper and threw it across the room, he would go and get it and bring it back to you.
Yep.
But also, they like to bring stuff to you in general without being prompted. They like to feed you by bringing you dead animals, basically.
Yeah.
Well, that's also because you're not providing properly for the home.
Right.
Yeah, they never see you hunting, so they're afraid of. So,
Yeah.
they're concerned you're not getting enough food.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. They are trying to look after you in many ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cats think humans are just dumb cats.
Pretty
Right.
much. Pretty
Yeah,
much. Dumb, hairless cats.
Speaking back to dogs, I was just this weekend. I was talking to someone, and they were talking about how the dog, and they're like, "Oh, this dog hated me. It would start urinating on the floor when I was there." And I said, well, isn't that a thing dogs do? They do submissive urination, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like
No, they also do spite urination.
Okay,
They do
because
both.
this was clearly spite urination.
Yes,
because that's the guy who was like, no, he's looking right at me.
Yeah, and that's another thing for dogs being smart. Yes, they can understand concepts of spite, and when they learn that something bothers people, if they want to, like, fucking start shit with them, they'll do it intentionally.
Cats also do that too.
Yes,
Oh, they
cats
do.
very much so.
Yeah.
Okay,
cats
like
also
when
do
when
that.
my father left, my dog Jessie the Chihuahua, the one we talked about who hurt her leg because
Yeah.
she's too old to jump off of furniture anymore, but she's too prideful to insist that to either take the puppy stairs that we have provided for her and that I know that she knows how to use because I've spent several afternoons making sure she knows via training. Or have other people drop there and just fucking leaps off to prove that, she's still young and virile. And last night, she hurt her goddamn foot. She sprained a leg there, and I legitimately forgot what I was talking about because I got distracted on this other stupid thing my dog did. Somebody really help me out there. Oh, when my father left...
Yes.
She just stopped going to the bathroom outside and would just go to where his office was and just freely defecate and urinate right there.
Oh, wow.
Huh. So, and that was a sign of
How
anger,
dare you
basically.
leave me? I will pee
Yeah,
and
this is
poop all over your thing.
Yes, this is very much of recognizing that this is somebody she's mad at's territory and
Yeah.
claiming it, defiling it.
Because they'll also mark walls and stuff, too, if
Yeah.
they feel they need to mark territory. So.
Yeah. I had a
Yeah.
friend whose cat, when he had a new cat, the cat didn't like him very much and was always peeing on his laundry, in his laundry hamper,
Oh my
basically.
god.
Which is pretty horrible, and they, of course, cat pee is really, really bad smelling. Like,
Yes.
amazingly, astoundingly skunk-level bad, basically.
Yeah.
Skunks have spray, cats just use their pee.
Yeah.
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 That actually reminds me of the time I had to look after someone's cats, and I was, they were in Toronto, and I had to drive to my hometown of Oshawa, which is like an hour out of Toronto, and I had to pick them up and look after them at my parents' house in Oshawa, because I was there for the weekend. And so they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll take the cat will go in the thing, and you drive them out there, and they're very well behaved, you just put them with food," and they were relatively well behaved, but as I got them in the car, they just let go with pee. They were obviously terrified that this stranger had snatched them and put them in their hamper. So I was driving with the window open on a very hot day
Yeah.
down the freeway. And after we spent the weekend together, and I thought the cat got to know me and liked me well enough, and it was time to go, we drove home. It happened again. We got urine in the car.
Because cats in general do not like driving.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't blame it for being scared. It was a very sweet cat, but there was this whole sort of, we won't feed it, so it won't have any accidents or anything. No, it had an accident, both ways.
And the cat's just looking at you. It's not an accident implies I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I am very aware. This is very much my protest. This is my sit-in. My shit-in.
Yeah.
Pissing.
No, it was all piss. It was
all piss.
Oh, wow, you're real
Fortunately.
lucky then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was, as I say, she hadn't fed the cat before, so I guess that's how I got lucked out on that. But I definitely got, and it was in its case or whatever, so it wasn't, it wasn't all over the floor of the car or anything. But holy cow, I had to hose that thing out when I got home. Let me tell you. Anyway, but yeah. So yes, cat pee does not smell great. But anyway, going back to the article.
I'm sorry, I have to pause because I feel that everyone should appreciate the pun or play on words of the shit-in protest more.
The shit in.
The shit in.
We should do that. As humans, no, we shouldn't. What am I talking about?
No, it would not be a good idea to do a human.
This would be a
protest.
great idea.
Yeah, depending on who we're doing it for.
We're not leaving this White Castle until...
I mean, unless everybody wanted to put their poop into a bag and put it all on the White House steps. That'd be an appropriate shit in.
Occupy Taco Bell.
Oh gosh.
Well, yeah. Giant wolf, yes. Well, that is how the animals do it, anyway.
Yeah.
So they know something. We probably would enact if we could use this properly. We would enact some serious policy changes.
Oh my god! I actually do remember an instance of somebody impromptu doing that to protest.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, how true this is and how much is apocrypha? Just putting it out there, but. An airline allegedly was experimenting with the concept of paid toilets.
Okay.
Oh, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, and a gentleman who was flying, I believe, business there, like an actual person, like all in a business suit and everything, had this informed, and rather than pay the money to use the bathroom stall, apparently just publicly dropped his pants and took a shit on the dining cart.
Good.
That sounds like it's probably been exaggerated a tad from what
He
actually
probably
happened.
didn't do it on the dining cart, but yeah.
How would you do that even? I'm not sure. That would be an act of balance on a moving plane, no less. That would be a fairly elaborate. That would be
well, where there's a
trick.
will, there's a way, Adam.
That's quite true.
True. And there was clearly a will, but that made me almost, as soon as you said experimenting with pay toilets, I was like, okay, I'm going to sympathize with whatever this guy does at this point. That's just,
short of hijacking it and taking it to Cuba, you're
Yeah.
entirely justified.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be honest, there's few things you could do in a form of protest to most airlines that would not immediately be sympathized and seen as justifiable by most
This
people.
is quite true, because there was a stand-in for, I forget what the person was why the person was standing, but the flight couldn't take off until everybody was seated, so somebody just stood up and was like, I'm not sitting down until this person is allowed admittance, and then a bunch of people joined her. So, yeah, that was about a month ago, I think. I remember reading about it. So yeah, because I think they were...
What was the issue?
Oh, wait, I remember. Somebody was being deported, actually.
Right, okay.
And
right.
yeah, somebody was being deported, and so somebody stood up and was like, no, I'm not going to sit down and have this person be deported because of unlawful reasons. So she just stood up and other people joined in until the person was escorted off of the plane. So,
Good.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, that's more of the kind of direct action we need.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it is, of course, provided that you know that somebody is on there because they're being deported. So,
Right.
I'm sure what's happened as a result of that is now people are trying to be much more secretive about who's on planes being deported.
Right.
So, there's that, unfortunately.
Well, the person could go, oh my god, they're deporting me, but anyway. Well.
Yeah, I think
It always seems to come... Yeah, go on.
I think the person who was being deported was visibly upset, and somebody saw that. So, yeah. Anyway, what were you saying?
Who, me? Or
Yes,
Ing?
you.
At this point, I don't know.
Okay.
I think I've said anything I want to say. I was just saying, going back to the dog articles.
Oh, yeah.
Second one.
Sorry, now, the paper does have some good points, and it actually does use this to talk about cognition in other mammals. Like, pointing out that animals that are also fairly intelligent, such as your cattle, goats, and pigs, probably should get more recognition of that, and to, get some more of their needs met, which again is also something that is known in animal science and that. But that's actually one that I'm going to be in favor of probably more people realizing.
Yeah. Again, going back to people being shocked that a cow could learn how to fetch.
Right. If the quote I was looking at, if we know a lot about the cognition of pigs or goats, then we need to look into their welfare and how we keep them. If they have needs for social interaction and mental stimulation, then we need to provide that.
Right.
And it also talks about that we can't put undue expectations on their dogs and have to remember that dogs are dogs.
Exactly.
And that they have limits to cognition. Which,
Yeah.
again, I don't think is a big issue because, well, I mean, some people are going, but I don't think anyone is actually expecting their Doberman to get into Yale.
Probably not.
Considering some of the people who get into Yale, anyway.
Well, no, that
I'm a
Doberman...
That's
Harvard
not based
man
on
myself.
merit.
That Doberman would need a legacy scholarship.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And there you go. You know?
Yeah.
All it takes is one, and then he's a legacy.
Yeah, and also of the needs. An animal behavior researcher named Temple Grayden, who's actually pretty well known and fairly renowned in the field, made pretty much of a lot of her career was to getting more of recognition of animals as actually sentient agents.
Right.
And talking about that, even if animals are going to be raised as livestock and for food, then you still have an obligation to care for them and to provide for their welfare.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And people forget that there are humane ways of doing that.
Yeah.
Growing livestock for food purposes.
Yeah,
No, go on.
I mean, vegans and ethical vegetarians are going to debate on that, but the inherent thing that I think we can agree is there are more humane ways.
Right, which is
Right.
my main point, is that, yes, technically the most humane thing is to just not eat them, but technically speaking, our diet does require some of it, not copious amounts of it, but some, so it's just kind of like, there are more humane ways to do it, which is why I don't believe that completely cutting it out is a good idea for anyone involved. If you're perfectly healthy doing it, good for you. I say this as somebody who lives with 2 vegetarians, just so everybody knows. I live with 2 vegetarians. I could become vegetarian if I really wanted to, but I do occasionally crave the odd meat. So it's just kind of like, if I'm craving it, there's a reason why my body is craving it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and there have been actually arguments from not vegetarian, but of sustainability and ethical eating. They're arguing that for food source, that if we're going to use a criteria such as like emotional response or intelligence, that maybe we shouldn't be eating things like goats or lambs there, and maybe actually for the sake of sustainability we should be looking at things that are less energy intensive to raise,
Right.
such as various crustaceans or other arthropods.
Well,
Which makes sense.
it sounds like they've been making some big breakthroughs recently with basically grown meat as opposed to
Yes, vat meat.
yeah, vat meat, or they did a section on it on the Colbert Report a few years ago, and the guy was calling it schmeat.
Schmeat.
Because it was, for some reason, it was a very weird interview because the scientist he was a Russian scientist, he seemed really down on it, and he goes, yes, it's like shit and meat put together. Basically.
What?
The most unappealing way of describing it you could possibly...
Well, it's also the
He goes-
Colbert Report, so it's going to be
Yeah.
really tongue-in-cheek anyway.
But this was the actual guy, though. This is the actual scientist he was interviewing, and he goes, "It's the is the inevitable future of humanity." And so they put up a little merchandising campaign of Schmeat. It's the inevitable future of humanity.
Oh, God.
But yeah, supposedly they've really gone. They've really taken some big steps lately in that regard.
Yeah, well,
And that,
growing the protein and the muscle tissue itself is not that huge a problem.
right.
It's like we know more or less how to induce cells into immortal lines and to get them to divide and do all that. A big thing for the meat is actually the texture issue.
Right.
Since vat meat, or since apparently we're actually going with this term schmeat, and which is why where I had actually heard schmeat come from, is that it is like a sheet of meat.
Okay.
Because
he probably had an accent.
Because it is not attached to any muscular scaffolding. It just comes out as kind of a slurry and thus not very tender.
Appealing.
Yeah, and
or appealing.
Like it is
very tender, or you say it's not tender,
or I guess it would be over tender. It does not have good texture or mouthfeel, is the kind of gist
the
of
consistency of it isn't what people would attribute to
meat as they know it.
Meat.
Yeah,
even ground meat. So that makes a lot of sense.
It being described as kind of a meat slurry. That's how it gets. So meat that's been put through a blender is kind of the natural state of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And there have been, wondering ways to get this, and one of the proposed ideas there, and this is gonna sound kind of obscene, but it's like, what if we actually grew them on scaffolding, like effectively artificial skeletons, and then as we grew them, just electrically shock them to get them to contract, and therefore, generate tone and marbleation and everything that generates the texture of meat.
Right. Yeah, because I mean that's how muscles kind of work anyway, right? It's a
but it then gets the thing. So, what you want is for us to make basically a Frankenstein laboratory of basically a bunch of, say, artificial legs that are just more or less kicking, so that we can grow and scrape the meat off of them. And it's like,
this does not sound like a good idea.
And yet, why is that worse than just here's an animal? And
I was gonna say
off,
that doesn't sound like an appealing way, but there's a reason the phrase is nobody likes to know how the sausage is made.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Is that meat is going to be inherently icky, no matter how it's made.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just but yeah, it would be weird to send kids to visit the farms of the future, and here's a row of dancing skeletons that are
just legs,
charged.
just legs, just wings.
I mean,
it's in no way
what
horrifying.
I believe that it actually would have been more of something kind of like spindles that are basically twisting and untwisting it, or just like
I'm imagining it's basically a pipe that has the electrical current, and then it's just
or just like strands that are kind of like hung up in framing and then just being shocked so that they contract and release.
Yeah,
which
no,
probably would. To be fair, probably would not actually look much better than the can of sausages.
I mean, I suppose the other option would be to attempt to make like a basic frame that sort of looks like an animal but doesn't look like any specific animal, and then do it on top of that scaffolding.
Yeah, that...
they'll combine it with the big dog. That's what they do. The big dog should have meat on it. And then they can use it as a pack animal, and then when they're ready to eat it, they can scrape the meat off it. And it'll basically be
the big dog?
Yeah, the big dog? It's the electronic device.
I was confused because we were talking about literal dogs, and that's that horrible walking monstrosity.
Yeah, that's it. The thing that buzzes like a horrible giant insect that's coming for you, and
the thing that looks like, not so much like a dog, but two sets of human torso of human pelvises fused together.
Yeah.
Almost.
One of them backwards.
Yeah.
Or some
one
kind of
backwards, almost human centipede, or Silent
Right.
Hill-esque.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yes, it looks like a
That's
stop
actually what I
motion
imagine when
creation.
we're describing the scaffolding thing is something out of Silent Hill. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Silent Hill.
I can,
Always a good sign when
Oh,
your
yeah.
food is.
I
food
can
looks
assure
like a horror
it probably
video game.
would not be that.
Right. Yeah.
Mostly because I imagine that for OSHA reasons, the lab or factory would have to have better lighting. But
well, clearly,
No pyramid
yes, that
heads.
would be the
That's
case.
very strictly outlined in the OSHA regulations. You can't have pyramid heads.
Oh,
Running
darn.
around.
now, is the reason why your factory seems to be made entirely out of rusted grating and red corroding metal?
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna sound weird, but the meat just doesn't smell right in anywhere else. Any other way we do it, it doesn't come out right. We don't know why. We
It's just how it is.
Believe
Has
me,
to be-
none of us are happy about the setup either, but this seems to be the only way it works.
You have to- yes. It has to look like an actual slaughterhouse. When
And
you're growing it.
and the man dressed as some sort of clown with a sack on his head, carrying the large mole behind him. Oh, that's our quality assurance manager.
Yeah.
It's just casual Friday.
No, the meat.
But it's
the
a
meat only
Tuesday.
gains the perfect texture if you terrify it properly at
God.
key moments.
Jeez.
Something
It's gonna
you need to
sound
get
weird, but
Yeah.
we found that that vaguely S&M inspired horror costumes are the safest.
Again,
Are
we
the
don't know why
seductive
this works,
most,
but it does.
most efficient way of growing good food for your kitchen table.
Oh,
Produced
God.
by Murder Clowns.
Yep.
S&M Murder
Oh,
Clowns.
God.
Well, as always.
Here at S&M Murderclown Farms, we're dedicated
You remember what
to
it was
only-
like to wander through an ash-ridden hellscape? S&M Murder Clown Farms remembers.
Oh, God. Murderclown is a family name.
Remember when you smothered your wife in the hospital because you couldn't stand to see her in a catatonic state anymore? Murderclown Farms remembers.
Jeez.
We saw what you did, and we remember.
Oh, jeez.
And there's our title for the episode, too. It's Murder Clown Farms.
Murderclown Farms remembers.
Oh, this is great. This is perfect.
There you go.
Alrighty.
Well, shall we move on to the next one, which is the Banksy?
Banksy.
Yes. Good old Banksy. You know, what's funny here is the article itself is not clickbait. I feel like Banksy himself. Or herself
Yeah, that's
is
kind of where
clicks.
it was getting.
And this does not seem to be that much of an in-depth investigation.
No.
I found a more in-depth one, but
Uh-huh.
I couldn't refine it when I found it.
Oh, okay, that's fine. It happens sometimes.
Right.
But long story short, there was a Banksy piece that went up for auction at Sotheby's, and somebody spent over $1 million on it, and then it got shredded. Because
Right. Well, no, it was designed to be shredded. It was
Yeah.
the idea that as soon as they closed the auction, I guess I don't know if there's a video or something.
Yes,
but they,
there
you know,
is.
As
There-
soon as the hammer went down, basically.
yeah, on Banksy's Banksy has a video of it being mid-shred on his Instagram. So, and apparently the frame is comically big, and truth be told, it looks like a normal looking size frame for the piece. It just looks like it might be a bit too thick in terms of how much it sits off from the wall, and I say this as somebody who works for a frame shop, so I know how frames work. So I know how frames work. So it's just
Don't
kind
you
of
question my frame expertise!
Indeed. So it's just
Yeah.
kind of I guess he went through a lot of painstaking engineering to get that shredder piece to fit inside the frame so that it's mostly undetectable. But yeah.
Well, that was the question: was to what degree would Sotheby's have been in on it, basically,
Yeah.
to pass that off.
So
And,
basically what happened is that the minute that it was auctioned, which for like some frankly obscene amount there,
1.4 million is the amount.
the shredder activated
Pounds.
and the picture was immediately shredded and deposited beneath it.
Yeah.
Which there's some debates that now it's even more valuable now that it's been shredded.
Right,
Right.
because it's an active performance art, so
Yeah,
And-
which we'll
yeah.
get into for a minute. So
Yeah.
there's two aspects of this. One of the whole, basically a CSIing how much they knew there and how the shredder worked. And apparently there was briefly a conspiracy theory that it wasn't actually shredded. It was
a fake.
Yeah, that the thing that it like disappears down into the frame and a pre-shredded copy comes out the other bottom like some fucking like some fucking episode of Monk shenanigans.
Yeah, no.
It's a magician.
But apparently the way that it came there is that it's a sort of ring of razors,
Okay.
and it was not actually printed on a flat sheet. It was printed on a spool that was pre-spooled up into the shredder.
Right.
Ah.
So,
Yeah, because you can see that bend
yeah,
there.
that's what that bend is, and that's not as
Yeah.
much interesting. What's more interesting is that, so, its value might have gone up because of this, and basically the article, which I couldn't find, and I really wish I did, said there, because basically the art world is an open secret that it is for money laundering.
Right.
Pretty much.
And it was
Yeah.
saying that this might be what Bansky was actually protesting, because a bunch of shit that's bought at auction is never displayed or even picked up by anyone. And
And a lot of it just goes into like a closet somewhere. And
yeah,
is never
just
touched
goes
or
into a
seen.
warehouse, and it's great for having money laundering assets because it's something that says that it's worth as much as you say it is.
Yeah. And like a lot of rich people do it to kind of get around taxes as well.
Yeah,
Because
and-
they can like report it as something, so it allows them not to have to pay as much. If there's a YouTube channel called The Art Assignment, and they actually have a video that goes into it about how rich people basically buy this artwork, store it, never look at it, never put it on display, never like kind of give it to a museum to put on display. They just keep it, but then they just sort of retroactively not pay money for it, if that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
really weird and stupid.
And then if you
Also-
want to say, and I'm just using like the comedic example of what you would need darker legal money for if you want to pay a hitman, you can then sell that painting
yeah.
and it's worth as much as you say it is, and then somebody has that money, and that's not for any nefarious purpose, that was just from an art sale.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, actually, I kind of think more people should do it, and I think I think Bansky should have gone fucking, harder in on it and just printed the whole thing on flash paper and have the fucker go up at the end.
Oh yeah, have it burn. But then the ash would be even more expensive.
Yeah, there's no way.
Right. It's not. It's
Yeah.
a pretty mild protest that doesn't really, dive into it.
Yeah, so you're just talking about Bansky in general.
Yeah,
Well,
I
that's
just
exactly-
posted a
yeah.
link to the video that's on his Instagram that shows it being shredded. So,
Yeah, and there's multiple thoughts on Bansky specifically and what his art means and how it goes there and how much of an anarchist can you be when you've parlayed it into multi-million, blah blah blah.
Right.
like for
Well,
a while he definitely was, but at this point it's just kind of like, well,
Or they. Well, then there's also the theory that there's.
oh
not
yeah,
just
it's more than one
Banksy,
person.
That
Yeah.
it's actually
I'm-
an art collective. Because as
Yeah.
somebody pointed out that, like the art is not very individualized. It's done as if like it's used stencils and things basically. So it's not theoretically anyone could do this, right?
Right,
And
it's
Yeah.
there's no particular motif or technique there that's more of a trend of styles or themes.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so it could be, a group of people who have done this, and that unfortunately kind of makes it more plausible for what you're talking about, where it's like it's kind of a money laundering or something a bit dodgy or part of a scam, because it's just we can generate this art at will and voila. Although, I mean, I know Banksy's done some. I mean, whoever Banksy is, they're probably legitimately trying to do something. I mean, it's not it's if you were gonna just purely cynically do this to cash in.
I mean, as far as like high concept art goes, Banksy is definitely not amongst the worst by any means.
No, not at all. That's the other thing. Like that.
Like he or she is definitely not amongst the worst as far as that is concerned.
He's not that douchebag that bought the color black.
Yeah,
right.
The weird fucking giant bean that he doesn't want to be called a giant bean, which is why you should always call it the giant bean of Chicago.
Bean.
Yeah, what is it? The official name of it is Skygate or something?
Cloudgate, yeah.
Yeah, it's something weird and stupid. It's like, no, it's a fucking bean.
Because people may be confused about this. It's, what's his name? Anish Kapoor, I believe his name is. And he basically he's the guy who designed the giant bean in Boston.
Yeah, in Chicago.
No, it's Boston.
It's Boston?
I'm pretty sure it's Boston.
Oh.
The Boston bean, right?
Boston.
Baked beans in Boston. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong. I always thought it was Boston, but
Cloudgate. Hold on, let me look it up.
No, it's in Chicago.
Cloudgate. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, my mistake. All right. Well, anyway, this guy apparently had had them developed a color like it's blackest black. It's Vanta Black, it's called, which is the blackest, like it literally engineered to be.
Well, a person developed the blackest black, and then Anish Kapoor stole it and patented it so that nobody else could use it. So then
did he steal it though, or did he just pay a lot of money?
Because I think the person who invented it didn't want to do it because he wanted everybody to be able to use it. Right. But Anish Kapoor took it and patented it because technically you can patent anything. So he patented it so that nobody could use it. And so then the guy who had developed the blackest black developed another black, but also developed the pinkest pink and made sure. Yeah. And made sure to patent it in a way so that Anish Kapoor couldn't get it.
Right. Because Anish Kapoor made it so that, literally I'm the only person who can use Vanta Black.
Yeah, the Vanta Black was then, I think, upped by Blackest Black.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
the guy who made Vanta Black made an even blacker black than Vanta Black.
Right,
was.
And then the user agreement for saying it is that you cannot give it to this guy. Somebody bought it.
Anyone except Anish Kapoor.
Right.
It, yeah.
That you have to, by using this, you agree under contract by user agreement from this intellectual right that you are not Anish Kapoor, have no association with Anish Kapoor, and will not give this to Anish Kapoor. Somebody did give it to Anish Kapoor, to which he posted a picture bragging, showing him with it and dipping his fingers into it.
That was actually the pinkest pink that he did that. And he specifically dipped his middle finger in it too, to really rub
that
it
was
in.
Then
I got this anyway, sucker, and apparently it might have shards of glass in it.
No. That was next update, which was Brightest Glitter.
Oh, that's right.
Which is the most glitteriest glitter ever made. Which is actually made out of ground up. It has ground up glass and other things so that you cannot safely handle it with the bare hand, specifically seemingly to fuck him on this. And then there's an even darker than darker black that's came out that has the advantage over Vanta Black that it's actually safe to handle, where Vanta Black requires special. What do you call it?
Equipment? Probably.
Special priming, and I think is toxic in some ways. Well, this other one is good to use out of the can. So it's led to a very enjoyable arms race / pissing match between the arts and the structural engineering world. Mm-hmm. Which, you gotta say something about someone when you're such a huge fucking douchebag that you literally propel ahead a new gold rush in the material engineering field.
Yeah.
Specifically to fuck this one guy in particular.
Just this one guy, and only because he took something and claimed it as his own.
Yeah.
So that nobody else can use it.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
understand
all he
how
had
they
to do was not do that, and none of this would have happened.
Yes, it's like, but then it's like the Cold War. It's like the Soviets versus the Americans all over again. The space
Well,
race.
we just have to wait for Anish Kapoor to die mysteriously, and then this will
Yeah.
all be over.
From the
Fair enough.
died. Yeah, apparently Pinkus Plink is hella toxic. Who knew?
Ooh, who knew?
And then just goes to the developer that's apparently lightly Yagami, all according to plan.
Yeah. like Yagami, yes, exactly.
Oh my
Death
god.
Note.
If
Yeah,
only.
just the yes. If we do not, anyone can eat this except Anish Kapoor. Well, I'll just show you. It's like
Anyone
Frank
can
Grimes-
eat this potato chip except Anish Kapoor.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
This, this is the fish hookiest fish hook. If anyone tries
That
to
ever
eat it,
fish hooked.
if anyone tries to eat it, it's like Frank Grimes on The Simpsons. Well, I don't need glass because I'm Homer Simpson. I'm Anish Kapoor.
The
Oh, God.
Blackest Black is actually a really interesting paint, though, because it stuff coded in it looks two-dimensional because
Yeah.
because it's so light absorbent, it doesn't generate the natural contours that your eyes recognize. That even in something that's really dark black, you will get contours of lighter segments. The
Right.
closer
Right.
to a light source, and that this absorbs so much it just will
It just
appear
looks flat.
as it will just appear as like a fucking glitched pixel, or like in a
Matrix.
video game when an asset doesn't load and it just has a black blob.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I want to see that.
Let me see if
I
there's
remember
a-
when
Avoid.
Vanta Black first came out, before all of the bullshit happened, people were freaking out over it because it is almost impossible to get a pigment that is just that black. Like, even pigments that we see in most blacks tend to sway either warm or cool, but it's just black. Like, it's void
Right.
of
Yeah,
light.
I'm putting a pic. Oh shoot, I just
you-
I posted a link twice instead of posting the picture I wanted. Hold on. Edit this
fine.
out, Adam. But not this part where I'm telling you to edit it out, or this part where I'm explaining it, and thus explaining it why it's funny that there's a segment of me asking to edit something out that the audience won't hear. Anyway,
This will be the
here's
cold open.
here's a picture of a gold mass,
Peanut butter.
and then a
Yeah.
replica of it that has been coated in it.
Yeah, you can barely see it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
and it
literally-
barely.
has the assurance that this is not photoshopped.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it looks like a bad Photoshop.
It does
Right.
look like a bad Photoshop. But, like, you could just make the outlines of, like, where the eye sockets are, the mouth, and, like, the bottom of the nose. But, like, just
Boy,
barely.
I can barely even see those. And yeah, it takes away all the contours of the face so that
Yeah.
you can't see where, the edges are or anything.
And-
unless
Yeah.
you're looking at it
And
from
this
the
is
side.
also a bronze sculpture that they did it on, so it's a surface that's naturally reflective.
Right.
Which, again, this is just showing off of how light absorbent this is. This is legitimately, like, a miraculous material.
Basically, anyone who's thinking about doing a Batman cosplay should get this shit, because this is probably what he's
Well,
coded
how much
in.
does this cost? Can
No, but
anyone
that
actually
no,
afford
but
it?
remember that's all in Jaden Smith's anime. That's a whole plot point there, that you're wearing midnight black, not midnight blue. That actually that actually night sky is not pure black there. So if you wore something that was pure black like this, you would actually stand
Like,
out
stand
in
out,
night
yeah.
more
That's
than
true.
if you wore something that was tones of gray.
That's true.
And we're talking about Jaden Smith's anime all of a sudden. A
Hey,
thing
it's getting
Uh,
a Christmas special. It is relevant.
Okay.
I could have gone with that it was a plot point in a Discord novel instead.
Yes,
Okay,
this is
But
true.
I figured I'd toss up the,
Yeah.
the deep take nerd references rather than just go to Discworld like I always do.
Like we always do, and then we talk about Discworld for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But again,
Is it
Yo
a-
Yo
no,
Kyo
the-
is getting a Christmas special, so it is relevant.
enough.
I still
Neo
haven't
Yokio-
watched Neo Yokio, but yeah.
I guess I have not
It's-
seen Neo Yokio.
Okay, it's worth seeing. It's very funny.
It's
Okay, I know there's a giant Toblerone. That's
Yeah.
the only thing I
everyone
know
knows about the giant
And it is
Toblerone.
it is also confirming for like, is Jaden Smith fucking with us or just crazy? And the answer is kind of both. But
I was gonna just say yes.
I mean, the answer is yes, but leaning more towards that he's aware that a lot of his stuff is actual shit posting.
Yeah.
So it's clear that this is intentional. But yeah, no, Neo Yokio is creating from whole cloth, and this is such a hard thing to nail, the feel of something that has been badly translated.
A lot of people have described it as being its own abridged series.
Yeah,
Like, it's an abridged series for something that doesn't actually exist.
right. And there's a ton of, and it's really hard to do parody like that well.
Yeah.
Like, that's sort of a complaint for, like, Sharknado, and that Sharknado will never be as funny as Manos the Hands of Fate, because Manos was made with earnestness and obliviousness to its horribleness. And thus is not tongue-in-cheek. Neo Yokio has such a good understanding of its source material that it's able to nail intentionally doing that sort of thing badly well.
Okay.
Yes. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, so did Jaden Smith actually write that, though? He wrote the whole thing, and it's a series, right?
And I believe he voices the main character. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I have to... I'm
guess...
looking up specifically to see who the writers for it on.
And it is a series, right?
Okay, also, it was created by Ezra Koenig, American musician-songwriter.
Okay.
Of the alternative rock band Vampire Weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, Jaden Smith did not write it. He's voiced.
Yeah.
He just voiced it.
Yeah.
He tends to be attributed
idea.
a lot. I have a feeling it might not have been made if he didn't want to voice the main character.
Well, he's probably the producer and he might have helped sort of. He might have gone into a room with some creative people and go, "I want a giant Toblerone and a Vanda Black suit and turn it into a story, and it's an anime."
Probably something
because that
like
kind of thing happens. Yeah.
Because what the thing is with Jaden Smith is that, like, I kind of know somebody who is trying to be Jaden Smith but does not realize that you just don't try to be Jaden Smith. That, like, nobody gives a shit about your art because you're not the son of Will Smith. You are just some guy who is posting dumb photos onto Instagram with stupid quotes. Like,
yeah. Well, that's
like,
that's
I get
exactly...
that Jaden Smith kind of does that, but Jaden Smith kind of also paid his dues just by being a Smith child.
No, he didn't. Well, that's exactly it. He didn't pay any dues. He got this because he was a celebrity, basically.
Yeah.
He was a celebrity child.
Right.
He
paid his dues by being born to the right parents.
You should have picked your parents
Let's
better.
be fair. That's
to
basically him and his sister were born to the right parents, and that's why they can pretty much kind of do whatever they like.
Yeah, well, that is the...
Look, I'd rather people, like, born into a lot of wealth and privilege, like Jaden Smith, spend it doing crazy art projects like this, rather than being the Koches.
This is true.
And
because I will say that
Jaden
and Willow do actually do good work when you see it.
Yeah.
Nothing against those two guys. It's just those people. It's clear that nobody would be paying attention to them if they were not the son and daughter of Will Smith, basically, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
of course not.
As I was saying, I'd rather, like, rich people do that and work on art and what they want to do. Stuff that, normal people would do if they had fuck you money, rather than people like the Cokes who dedicate it to just being Mr. Potter's cosplay for their whole lives.
Yeah. I mean, that you know of. For all you know, they're using Banksy art to order hits on dancing meat skeletons because they have the money to do that, right?
Okay, here's the thing, is, like, my brain eventually caught up, and giving the whole context of what we previously talked about, I still thought I was briefly having a stroke when you got to ordering a hit on dancing meat skeletons. Like, even
Come on,
knowing
Adam's
that,
trying to tie this all together.
even knowing the context,
me
that
here.
is such a wild thing to say.
Yeah.
My point is, they're rich. They can do what they want, whatever crazy thing they want to do. They could buy Vanta Black or whatever the black.
The pink is pink.
Pink is pink.
The pink is pink.
And they can, but that's the thing. They wouldn't. Well, remember our whole conversation about the secret cannibal clubs, right? With a few shows back, we talked about how rich people probably have the secret, long pig restaurant somewhere in Tokyo or whatever.
Jeez.
No. The Tokyo one was, and forgive people who've listened it to already, the alleged club where you can order an animal to have sex with and then they'll cook it for you.
Ugh.
Alleged. Were you not there for that one, Abby?
I don't remember that at all.
I think it was.
It says something about our show where Abby was there for that, and it's like, she's not saying she doesn't remember it, because she's like, yeah, that sounds like us, but boy, I don't remember that.
It's possible my brain has just like taken that memory and like locked it away somewhere because I don't want to think about it at random times in my life.
Yeah, nope.
Because my brain will just randomly start thinking about random shit, and that's definitely not one thing I think my brain wants to think about randomly. So.
No, that doesn't sound like a good thing.
No,
and
it
yet,
doesn't.
people are like, I've got all this money, what do I do? I know, I'll have sex with an animal and then eat it. It's disturbingly plausible.
Yeah.
I mean, on the other side is, you get rich enough that people will come up with all the crazy stories about you. And
I'm sorry. My mind went to like a skit there. It's like, yeah, so have sex with an animal and then eat it. I mean, like a person, right? What, the bestiality is the thing that bothered you about that sentence? That's the part that bothered you?
There's so many vectors in which that can be considered wrong, which is why they do it, I'm sure. Of course, we're all just speculating this place even exists. I always if you remember, and again, I feel like we did talk about it briefly, but the big article a month ago or so about Johnny Depp, and it was about what Johnny Depp gets up to in his spare time. And it's just literally he lives in a basement with someone and talks about going out drinking, and then they never go out drinking or whatever. And he talks about all this money spent, and he's thrown away all his money on wine and fireworks and stuff. But it's like he's living in a basement, like I'm living in a basement. He just has a nicer basement, basically. Yeah, you have to wonder if rich people are just doing that all day long. They just like to create the idea that they have these wild, insane lives, but they don't actually do much.
I mean, you say that, but like a big member of the Republican Party actually was a child molester. A big donor for the Republican Party and other parties, indeed, actually was having underage sex and drug parties.
Yeah.
Like, it says something that I'm not even sure which one you're talking about, of the many possible options for that one.
Truth be told, it could be any of them at this point. It really doesn't matter.
I mean, one of the speakers from the House was a child molester.
Yeah. We're talking about the ones that were caught, that we confirm, and as we always have to say, Howard Hughes did confirmably exist.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, and I mean, he may be an outlier in crazy rich people, but it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel like being a pedophile is not necessarily something you need money for specifically. I'm not sure. As much as I think being rich can warp your brain in weird ways, I don't think it necessarily. I think, speaking of clickbait, that was a thing a week or two ago when there was an article about Jeff Bezos being interviewed at breakfast, and he ordered an octopus for breakfast just because nobody's ever done that, man. It's crazy. You gotta have an octopus breakfast. It's just like, okay, you don't have
No. The thing about that was that he then used that as a metaphor to explain why he was buying this new industry and saying basically, because I can.
Yeah.
And that basically buying out this whole company and taking thousands of people's livelihood into his hand has the same weight to him as deciding to have octopus for breakfast because he can, and that's an experience that he can have that his wealth allows him that others don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was the horrible thing about it. That's the thing. Jeff Bezos is a literal fucking sociopath.
Basically, pretty much.
Which, in order to hold on to that much money, you'd pretty much have to be.
Yeah.
To get to that point, yes.
Especially since he's on record says he has so much money he doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, he literally, and his go-to thing there, as people pointed out, you literally have enough money to solve world hunger for a large thing to just...
Yeah.
To, like, give health insurance to so many people, and then his thing is going, I think I'll just fire it off into space. You know what? I'm just gonna take a bunch of my money and effectively light it on fire. Let's just blow it up!
And then, like, people are like, no, we shouldn't tax the rich. Like, this is what happens when you don't tax the rich. You get Jeff Bezos.
Do you want Bezos? Because this is how we get Bezos.
No, you get Bezos.
This is how we fucking get Bezos.
Some kind of animal you might find in your toilet of a night. Somewhat,
yeah, pretty much.
He does somewhat resemble that.
Yeah.
Adam? What
Yes?
animals live in Canadian toilets?
Yeah, you're not in Australia, so you have to get pretty creative.
Like, I'm aware that you have the majestic moose.
Yes, we saw the moose.
The mighty grizzly and polar bears.
Yeah. Those are the megafauna.
Right, so, but...
He's probably talking about squirrels.
I'm talking about, he vaguely...
yes, the rare and endangered Ottawa toilet squirrel. One of nature's most beautiful treasures.
For some reason, there are an unusual amount of, like, articles and things about people finding squirrels in their toilets. Or rats or raccoons or what. It has been, for some reason, they crawl up the pipe somehow, and I don't quite get how they do that without drowning, but there's been more
Clearly
than one
they're
incident.
trying to heist the joint.
Yeah, of course.
Well, it's like, if we can pull this off, we'll eat like kings!
Yep. Pretty sure that's what rats do.
But also just, yeah, exactly. But it is possible, raccoons do get it. I was thinking possum, but, either way.
Possums are a little bit meaty compared to your average squirrel.
Yes. Bezos does resemble in many ways is it Rick Scott, the governor of Florida, the other bald, sort of cadaverous looking guy who looks like a snake, like disturbingly like a human snake. So he and Bezos may be twin lizard people who are invading our planet.
Yeah, it's an argument to make Voldemort an ethnicity.
Oh God, jeez.
Of the Voldemort Bezoses. The Voldemorts are a proud people. Their national anthem swells across the Canadian swamps from which they emanate through the toilets. I don't know. Okay.
Well, let's just all agree that Jaden Smith is secretly one of Banksy.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
And he's Vanta Black.
He's one of the attorneys Banksy.
Yep. He's one of the Banksy.
All of the North Hampshire Bankskys.
Of the Banksy Collective. Yeah.
Indeed.
We are Banksy. Resistance is futile.
Well, apparently it isn't. Apparently it is, because the guy has more money than any of us know what to do with, like Bezos. That's it. That's how Bezos got his money, from being Banksy.
No.
He's Banksy.
Yeah. They could all be Banksy, anyway.
I'm Banksy!
Yes.
I'm Spartacus.
I wish.
Yeah.
No,
wish I was
if
Banksy.
Bezos woke up with Banksy's money, he'd kill himself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
Taken such a hit.
What's the
Only
Chris
a
Rock
few-
the Chris
a
Rock
paltry
quote
few
that
billion.
if Bill Gates woke up with Oprah Winfrey's money, he'd jump out the window and shoot himself on the way down?
Oh, God.
Well, hang on. those two, I don't feel like they were that far apart monetarily wise.
They were.
Really?
Yeah.
She was worth a couple $100 million. I know, but Jeff
And
okay,
Gates and Bill Gates was a billionaire.
a couple
Yeah.
million,
Yeah, that's literally an order of magnitude difference.
fair enough.
That's a step
But
up
that-
on a logarithmic scale.
Yeah, he would have said, "Oh no, my life has been impacted in no material way whatsoever, but my finances are lower now. I rank lower, so I'm going to kill myself." Anyway. Yes. Are we going to talk about Bowsette? Are we going to do our Waluigi?
I don't know.
I had a different
Yeah,
one.
there's the him to U.S. Navy.
Yeah, no, I
Oh,
wanted
yeah,
to do
this
this
guy.
because this wasn't
We
so
should
much...
talk about this. This happened yesterday.
Yeah.
This is great.
So this is why I wanted to fucking jump on this, and this is one that this whole story, if this turns out to be a hoax, I still applaud it because I would applaud it for being a well-written drama.
That is true.
We'll tell this. Yeah, go ahead.
So basically what happened is that a Twitter user whose name was Blue Star Navy Mom 3 uploaded a picture of a U.S. Navy officer with basically his commendations as well as the fact that he is a gentleman and respects women, but also is afraid to go on solo dates because he's afraid of being falsely accused for sexual assault by radical feminists with an axe to grind, and then attached the hashtag him too to the message. It was eventually deleted. And
the image. Don't forget the picture that was.
Oh yeah,
attached
the
to all
image
this.
is of a Navy officer, exactly how you would think of him. A U.S. Navy officer, exactly as you would think of him.
No, because now he's posing on his he's got his leg up.
Yeah,
and he's got his
he's got a sassy pose.
Let's put it this way:
But-
the most common response to that lady was taking a look at the picture and saying, "Honey, your kid is gay."
Yeah, basically.
Which okay, that sounds mean, but there are stereotypes about the Navy for a reason.
Indeed.
And I'm trying to defend this without this being the...
It
look,
does
this
come off as pretty homophobic when we describe it this bluntly.
Okay, but I
Yeah.
gotta say,
To
this
say.
was a joke I saw a lot of gay people making.
Exactly. Yes.
And
This is true.
again, to put it this way, the naval compass tattoo, for context there, has been nicknamed the gay porn tattoo for a reason.
Okay.
And not to mention, if she hadn't mentioned about the whole not going on solo dates thing,
Right, no, you wouldn't have jumped to that.
yeah, I don't think as many people would have jumped on calling him gay as a result of that.
The joke of it was that it's somebody in the Navy whites there in a flirtatious pose with the mother saying that, "Oh, my son's not going on dates."
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, I got the actual quote.
Or dates with women, specifically.
Oh, shoot, no, your meme isn't loading.
Oh, that sucks.
That's literally the first time that garbage website's done this to me.
But in any case, it continues. That Twitter post was eventually deleted. All people screen capped the heck out of it. And then somebody on claiming to be the sailor's brother said basically said, "Ask me anything about it." And mind you, the original post got memed to hell and back. So, yeah.
I mean,
it was memed all over the place.
Here's the full tweet there. "This is my son. He graduated #1 in boot camp. He was awarded the U.S. Award. He was #1 in A school. He is a gentleman who respects women. He won't go on solo dates due to the current climate of false sexual accusations by radical feminists with an axe to grind. I vote #him too."
Yeah.
So...
But then
somebody claiming to be his brother, and he does have a picture of him posing outside of a theme park with him, basically laying claim that, yeah, I'm related to these people, ask me anything about it. And then he mentions that their mother had good intentions, had previously tried setting up a date, and never expected her tweet to go viral, which is why she probably deleted it. And then he also added that their mother claimed her account was hacked, which is, what everybody says when something that they didn't want to go viral went viral.
Right.
And then the brother continues that he does go on dates, that his brother does go on dates, and never said any of those things. My mom is crazy. We don't have sisters. He was very upset at first, but is taking it in stride now. And that eventually it looks like he created a Twitter account, and with the name being "That Was My Mom," and uploading a picture of himself imitating the viral photo and explaining all of the stuff, including believe women.
Yeah.
And it's
Also, the thing that came from it there is that his mother's post did not actually affect or reflect his actual beliefs, so
Yeah.
there was some tension over that, with one previous one of a friend saying that the brother eventually deleted the mom's Facebook posting of it himself there over frustration.
Ah.
So again, I don't know how much of it, but family tension there. But boy, that was a wild ride.
Yeah.
And it still seems to be ongoing. Apparently, they were having a Twitter conversation still. Last I heard, the mom and the son were
Really?
going on. Yeah,
Oh gosh.
but
Yeah,
the
I mean,
point
the
being-
response from the brothers are that they will eventually forgive her.
Yeah. Like, again, you can kind of clearly tell that it was written by somebody who knows that they don't get a lot of attention on social media, so they thought that they still wouldn't. And it's just kind of like, and in this day and age, maybe your mom isn't going to know that anything can become viral, so this is probably a good idea to tell her, Mom, anything can become viral, you can't control it. Be careful what you say.
Also, don't lie about your fucking kids on the internet.
yes, also good, and it shows you. Yeah, it seems like a good example.
Also,
of the whole,
maybe don't use your kids as props for your right-wing bullshit.
Indeed.
Yeah, it seems like a good example of the Fox News brain rot.
Yeah,
of, like,
definitely.
seniors getting,
Yeah,
caught up
and that is a good summary of what the brothers say about it, and pretty
Uh-huh.
much saying is that they're mad at her. They will eventually forgive her for this. They're still her mom, but like saying that,
I think the brother did say that she does watch a lot of Fox News, and that's probably where she
Yeah.
got this idea. So, yeah.
But and
Uh,
it is a thing also pointing out that it's not cool to lie about people who are confident or things to there and present the belief or co-opt somebody's image.
Yeah,
that sort of
It's
thing.
also not cool to lie about them when they can very easily contradict your statement and
Yeah.
don't share your ideology. And
Or in this
will-
particular case, it seems like, well, he didn't want to date somebody I recommended, so that means he's not dating at all, and I'm going to tell the entire internet this. Like, no, that's not what that means.
I mean, I'm cringe laughing, but a lot of it is very much sympathy.
yeah,
It's like,
definitely.
I very much feel.
Yeah.
Not directly. My mom's not terrible in that way. But
Like, there is a reason why I'm not connected to most of my
Yeah.
family on social media.
but it's the other thing of like, remember, don't do this to people that are family, because if this wasn't a family member who did this to him, he would have grounds to sue.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
this would be a libel,
true-
slander, assault per se, because it got him negative attention.
I mean, truth be told, he could, regardless of...
Okay, yeah, he
family.
still does have grounds
But he's
to
not
sue.
going to, because she is family.
Right.
Like,
The
I
on-
get that.
The only reason this doesn't escalate into an actual libel suit and defamation thing is because it's family, and then there's leeway and more forgiveness than if just some stranger did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But
and-
it's like, yeah, be careful about it. That is the stuff that puts stress on relationships. That sort of stuff can, like, fucking end it there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's and it just shows the sort of desperation for approval within a certain circle. It's self-reinforcing. It's,
Yeah.
oh, yes, I hear that the kids today can't go. I don't know because I'm 78 years old, but I hear that the kids today can't go on dates without being accused of sexual harassment and put in the and guillotined and put in the stocks and had fruit thrown at them because that's what the society has come to. Because that's what, Sean Hannity tells me is the case.
Yeah.
On Fox News. And everyone then starts rushing. And people have said, I've heard this about religion too. I'm sure Ing will back me up on that. Just that they all sort of come piling in and saying, oh yeah, I was a Satanist and I was, conducting ritual murders. And because they get approval from people saying, but then I found Jesus and I got away from them. Everyone goes, oh, good for you. And they know it's bullshit, but they embrace it anyway because it makes them feel good and loved and part of a group. And that's sort of the same principle not on a lower scale, I guess, but it's the kind of thing that makes people rush to do that, I think.
I remember a thing by somebody called Rich Lyons, who had previously been 20 years as a Pentecostal minister, and left the church and does not believe in it. But he told stories about him performing exorcisms and faith healing stuff like that, and talking about it because here's a situation where this is somebody who does not believe in the Pentecostal God, but will be attributed by people that he had been previously pastor to with miraculous healings and all that. And one that he talked about how a lot of the exorcism things that people did were highly informed and influenced by the movie The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff waned. And it talked about for basically really conservative societies or cultures there's little way to get meaningful, I think, attention or recognition. And stuff such as these religious experiences like talking in tongues or exorcism or that things are one of apparently the few socially acceptable ways that could do that or could get a stress release sort of thing involved, like in very repressive, conservative cultures like that. And basically, that seemed to be his theory there, that people were, in some ways, like, crying out for help for some sort of emotional malnourishment that they were getting, and this is the only way that it manifests in this framework. Something similar to, like, being touch-starved.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah. That's often how these things seem
So, if you're wondering, like, how people can work themselves up enough to, like, seemingly get into religious frenzies, or seemingly convince or believe, convince themselves of stuff that seems and, like, objectively can be more or less falsifiable. Because, like, for the example there, the Pentecostal didn't actually have a lot of things with demon possession until The Exorcist brought it into the public convention, and then it became, like, a big thing that, like, the exorcism needed to be completed by people vomiting and, like, this expelling thing, and people would, like, work themselves sick into getting the vomit, and it has, like, this guy talked about that isn't, like, anywhere actually in the theology, but people picked up on it.
Right.
And then it's just a thing in the culture, and he went along with it because you're a minister and that's what you do, and you even convince yourself of it. But he said, like, looking back, it's just kind of like a mass hysteria kind of thing where people keep going into it, and almost like Munchausen's in some way, but people may not even be aware entirely that they're faking.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's
like, it could be just under their subconscious level that they're faking it because they need something else. Basically.
Yeah, that there's some sort of emotional buildup that needs release. Mm-hmm. And in certain cultures like that, there is no way to ask for help or to get assistance or to get support for it.
Right.
And I think he talked that especially that this was very common with women in the community.
Right.
Which is not surprising.
Yeah,
actually.
and if you're a woman in a very conservative thing like that, there's very few socially acceptable ways to actually put yourself forward and get positive attention.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's an in-group thing, an in-group, out-group thing.
Kind of.
People
Yeah.
wanted their... but yes, wanting the attention.
Ah.
All right, I think we're all fading here.
A little
so-
bit.
Yeah, that's
So
a nice
let's-
positive thing to
I mean,
end
unless
on.
you want to end on the Bowsette parody porn.
What?
There's a Bowsette parody.
Oh
porn.
god,
All right,
no,
let me
I don't
post the
know
link again.
this.
No, it's okay. It's just screen caps. It's none of the dirty stuff. Don't worry.
It's all the dirty stuff.
Oh no, just take a look at the screen caps, and you will hopefully get a good laugh.
It is one of the more hilarious. Who
Oh
was it?
god! Oh god! Oh
I mean,
god!
Remember it was, what is it, in the 80s or early 90s they had the Super Mario show with, I guess it was Captain Lou Albano, is that who it was?
Yeah.
As Mario.
Yeah.
And the costumes in that were more convincing than the costumes in this porn parody. of
Yeah.
Mario.
Why is it a
Mario and
race?
Bowser.
Why is it a race car
I
bed?
asked the same thing, and apparently it's a Mario Kart joke. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is that they were like, yeah, a car bed makes sense because Mario Kart.
And that
God.
bed does not look anywhere near big enough for both of them either. It looks like a very tiny bed.
Yeah, it's meant for a child. It is meant for an actual child.
Well, he just needs to get hit and shrink down.
Oh,
Well, no, it's a boner pill that he has.
what is this? I'm sorry,
It's the
what
start.
is this room? Because it has, like, oversized drapes on a window. It is very small. It has a bed, a, like, tea tray table, tools
water
hanging
cooler.
up on the wall, and a water cooler. And
Yeah,
that's
and-
it.
Water cooler.
It's like,
And
what
some kind of art in the background.
what were you aiming for with your decoration? Because whatever you were trying for, you somehow missed.
Yeah. Well, apparently, I mean, if you read the anonymous thing at the top, it was something that was made simply because there are so many searches for it on Pornhub. So, like, somebody was like, okay, we gotta get this shit done. Somebody have a set? Okay, we'll use this set. Somebody can do the costumes, right? Okay, good.
Okay, so help me out with this. So this likely means that this is a room that pre-existed before, and
Yep.
that they just added the race car bed.
Right. Very
Yep.
definitely.
Now, mentally, even removing the race car bed, what room was this?
I
Like,
really
even
don't
accepting
know.
that this is just for a porn shoot there, then you would have had an empty room, apparently like a 20 by 20 room that had nothing but drapes and a water cooler.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I don't
it's
know.
their generic set that they can redecorate to be whatever it needs to be. In this
Basically.
case, it needed a race car bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Who
There's-
the hell knows why things were chosen for what reasons they were chosen
Well,
for.
let's just say the amount of care and effort that they spent on the costume was not reciprocated with the decoration of the set. This is the closest thing they could have. Oh, you know what it is? The oversized drapes might be like the costumes and like the curtains that end the level in Super Mario Brothers 3. Maybe that's what they were paying
Jesus.
homage to.
That's a really weird thing to reference, though.
That's all I can think of because and it is a painting of a beanstalk too in the background, which are in some of the Super Mario.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a thing.
But
Yeah.
the water cooler?
The water cooler, I don't know.
Well,
maybe...
Mario has water levels, so of course. And the tea tray is clearly a reference to Alice in Wonderland with the eat me cake and drink me potion, which of course Alice in Wonderland was a big influence on Super Mario.
Right.
Yes, because they have the oversized world or whatever it was called. I'm blanking on the name. Okay, so we figured out everything except
No,
that is a
all of
horrible
that was
Bowser costume.
No, all of what I said was lies. None of that is true. That was all me bullshitting. None of that is true.
Or we can
not
consider the
pretend
possibility...
Do not pretend that we are truthful people here. We are a
Oh, yeah,
citadel
no.
of lies.
In any case, I mean,
Let's
this
just
is,
consider
this
the
is-
possibility that this was thrown together in about 5 minutes, and that's
Oh
one.
god, I just
Yeah, this was-
noticed
this-
it's race car number 69.
Yup.
Oh, God.
Yup.
Of course it is.
It's also, I have to say, from the
It-
still shots there, none of these actors want to be there.
No,
Oh,
they're
no,
the most
no.
unenthusiastic looking.
I mean, let me read the quote from the person asking on anonymous for obvious reasons, but yeah, there is a Bowsette porn parody, and I definitely know this because my husband shot it on his birthday in just a few hours. He hated every moment of it. They only had a day to shoot the damn thing because Pornhub was getting so many searches for
Oh
it
my-
by so many weirdos, so they needed it ASAP. So thanks for ruining my husband's birthday, people.
I can't remember what comedian who said it, but one of them had a routine. I think it was Dylan Morin. And I'm sorry if I got it right, that no matter what your sexual fetish is, no matter how wild or perverse it is, a magazine is dedicated to it, and working on that depraved sexual eroticism is somebody's fucking boring 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
And they get up every Monday dreading to have to go in and work on your fetish.
Yep.
And
Basically.
this, just so there, but my god, the only scenario in which people could be less enthused about being on a porn shoot is a snuff film.
Well, the
Mario's
context
eyes are so dead!
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
This is
here
a
kind
man
of
that is so defeated by life at this moment.
Oh yeah.
You know. Well, and the funny thing is, the context makes it seem like, well, for most of our porno shoots, we're all having a good time. It's a laugh. But this was really beyond the pale for us. We really didn't want to do this.
What's even more amazing, this was an emergency porno shoot. People
Yeah.
were called
Like people
were
are
called
searching for this
in
shit
for
that
this.
doesn't exist. What do?
So, somebody got to the red phone and said, "Put the word out. We need everyone to come in on Sunday.
Oh god.
I know it's your day off, but we need you to come."
We're gonna be here
Literally.
all weekend if that's what it takes.
Oh my god.
We got 2 hours to film this Mario thing.
The people demand it. And we gotta do it. It's up to us to provide it. And thus they did.
Indeed.
Oh my god,
And
you
this
could
just-
tell me that this porn ends with the Mario actor taking out a Super NES Super Scope and just shooting himself right in the head, and I would believe it.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh
It's,
jeez.
I mean, clearly 30
Every
seasons.
time I look at the pictures, I notice something else that's more wonderful.
Like what?
Like the Bowser pre-Bowsette costume is very. One is that the footwear appears to be some form of fuzzy slippers.
Yeah, I feel like what it actually is that they bought a Ninja Turtle
It's a
costume.
Yeah,
costume,
I was gonna
yeah,
say
for
it's
sure.
some
And
sort of.
somebody made that mask very quickly.
But that the hair for the mask
Yeah.
appears to be like a Jessica Rabbit wig.
Yeah.
It's definitely, not Bowser's. It's definitely a wig somebody had, a female wig, because it does not match Bowser's usual hair at all.
Yeah, it's like we need a red wig. Here's a red wig. This one will work, right? Yeah.
It's like
yeah,
a Scarlet Betty Page hairstyle wig. I can't get over just how sad Mario looks in every picture.
Oh yeah, he's completely defeated in every picture.
Mario.
He doesn't even look excited to take the boner pill. Like, come on.
Star pill.
Which probably should be a mushroom, but okay.
Yes, if it makes things grow, but
Yeah.
exactly. Well, the
again,
star makes you
we can't
invincible.
put too much criticism on it because this whole
Yeah.
thing was thrown together in an hour. People were
Yeah,
pulled in to work on this on their birthday.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
this was done in 24 hours for all of those sick weirdos out there on Pornhub.
Uh-huh. Good gracious.
I'm scared to look on Pornhub now to see if there's any other productions that exist.
Well, you should be.
I have to share the hashtags on Tumblr for it include "It's not that great" and "But Christ."
Yeah. On this particular reblog of it, yes.
Oh god. So, the closest thing I was gonna have to a Waluigi update is asking if we wanted to explain, to Adam what Yoko Tyro is, but we could save that for another day.
Let's do that another day. I think that killed all of our enthusiasm. Just like Super Mario himself in the porno. I think our enthusiasm has waned.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's
Yeah.
a slightly better note than the note from before.
I'm just looking around. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. How did I get here?
And she said no, Mario. Don't you remember the end of Odyssey? God.
Who am I? It's a me, Mario. Well, it's time to go, I think. Time to go up the wooden hill to Bedfordshire, as my old mother used to say, with mugs of cocoa, to dream of
I
Fanta
want
Black memes and Jaden Smith's Toblerone.
Yeah.
Not a euphemism.
Are you sure?
Phrasing.
Well, now it is, yeah. That's how you get Bezos. So from all of us again, I'll remind everyone that we have Patreons and we will provide the links below. So please check them out. Provide us with sustenance that we need, clicks and likes and subscribes, as always. And it's been a crazy week. It's only going to get crazier, so strap yourselves in, guys. We'll see you again in 2 more weeks here on Destroy All Clickbait.
Woo.
And good night.
Bye.
Sail off into the digital sunset.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.